We're so used to recurring mistakes or design churn or redesign or getting to a design review event and saying we missed this, let's go back and check it, that we don't even consider that it was a problem because we're just so used to it. And I love this graphic. It was borrowed from a couple different resources. The guy's expression here is on purpose, so he's not that upset. He's wasting money, but he's not that upset. And does everybody kind of vibe with that? I mean, that we see in our engineering organizations a lot of mistakes, and we just don't really get that upset about it because we're expecting a certain amount. And a lot of these mistakes, the argument goes, is because poor knowledge reuse. Not all of them, but a good portion of these problems arise because we didn't know what our colleague knew. We didn't learn from a past project. We didn't synthesize needs of other stakeholders in an efficient way, and we came out to some problem that we now have to resolve.
I realized more and more that this term knowledge, it shouldn't be knowledge management. It should be the application of knowledge. There should be a verb there so that we apply knowledge, okay? First and foremost, knowledge has to be easy to capture. The last thing you want is somebody that has a test failure and then they got to go into the CAD system and figure out how to decorate it on the proper parts, which might be great for the current product, but it's terrible for the next product, right? And so this notion of associating insight and associating the test failure with the next set of products is important. How do you apply it to those future products? Whose job is it to apply it to the future products, right? And one of the things we found interesting over time, and I'm going to share in a little bit, the evolution of what kind of use cases. I forced a lot of people, some of them are in the room, to throw it back into requirements. And I was surprised at the number of times we came back and said, nope, ROS is a better place for it. And so I want to leave you, as we go through the rest of this, with why did that happen? Why couldn't I put this knowledge gain back in requirements? Why did it always come back to something else? So there's something here for the IT folks in the room. You really do want this because you're probably not the process expert. There's somebody in engineering that's the process expert, and processes change over time. And the last thing you want is for your IT to be the constraint on changing processes. Processes is part of the secret sauce, it's part of how you stay competitive. Almost all tool vendors worry about authoring. What they should worry more about is use. In other words, the ability to access the information, the ability to easily, what the word provision I really like, but I didn't create it, the folks at Jeff's team created it, right? Ease of use. If you're a tool person or an IT person, you may hate me saying it over and over. Don't say, oh yeah, that thing from Dassault just does it really well. Well, it means it can do it. It doesn't mean that it does it efficiently. If you're in a large car company, this matters a lot, right? And users not being happy with the way the user experience works is one of the surest ways to slow down your PLM implementation plan.
So we took it a step further and we wanted to implement it in program management. As a program manager, you're responsible for a lot of knowledge. And during a key launch of a program, that knowledge needs to be given to key individuals at instrumental times in the program to make sure you're successful. So we thought ROS was a great tool to do that, and it complemented our engineering group as well. So there's a lot more visibility into what's going on in the program, and from a manager or from a PMO, from a director standpoint, they could go in and see visually. It's very nice because you can say, what's the health of the program? Are we on track? Are we green? Are all the flags on time? Are the gate reviews happening? Are they red? What's the issues? So quickly you can log in and see, are we on track or are there major issues with this program?
So we knew we wanted to combine a few different variables or measures to give that holistic and objective measurement of how each of the teams were doing. So we mainly use the COP vitality. So like I said, there's KPAC vitality, which is basically the health of the KPAC. The COP vitality just summarizes that for all of the KPACs in that COP. So that's the main component we use, and that's automatically calculated by ROS based on a number of different variables, so we didn't have to calculate that ourselves. And people could then, it'd be easier for users to see that vitality in the system and everything matched rather than us creating our own very specific calculation. We have a lot of different types of reports. Right now we have over 15 reports using ROS data, so obviously I just showed a couple examples today. And over the last 90 days, we have over like 400 people using those reports. So they are pretty popular. People are finding value in them. And people just keep asking us for more and more stuff. If you are going to implement anything like this, you will see that it'll definitely exponentially grow. People like to see this type of stuff. It makes their jobs easier, makes them more efficient. So we just keep getting asked to do more and more stuff that's kind of not in our realm, but we learn it, make it happen. And so we're just going to keep continuing to expand the tool, grow it throughout the organization, try to get other people learning this, how to do it, and incorporate more and more data from different systems. Because overall, this is making people's jobs better and faster. We've received a lot of positive feedback from all of this, and again, people just keep asking for more and more.
Since then, the peer review process has, as Craig Brown said earlier, it really increased the amount of users within Oros. Currently, we have roughly 120 different peer review COPs with thousands of KPACs. What I'm going to be doing today is going through the process that General Motors went through from migrating our peer review process from Excel into Oros. The biggest part of our peer review process has been team boards. So I've been fairly active in creating team boards, bringing in new groups and processes into using team boards at General Motors. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. An example is here. So we have the front and rear cradle peer review, as well as the PEC peer review workflow. Each one of these workflows has unique timing to the workflow. The checkpoints are unique, the KPAC sets are unique, and we also assign the different component engineers to the team board so they can have access to their workflows. This has been beneficial because that's less maintenance from the EGMs and the DREs. They only have one team board, they can track their assessments from the one team board, and they can see the status of the workflow in one location instead of managing two. So this is something that the leaders really like for tracking purposes. And the other nice thing is, when we updated the method KPAC, they wanted this updated across all team boards for their COP. So as the method was updated, we did not version it. So that way it pushed to all active team boards so they could start working on this new process automatically.
And what I wanted to propose to you is this idea, that we want to be able to measure sound judgment, don't we? At the point of use, at where this knowledge is being delivered to these consumers, these people that use this knowledge, all right, we want to be there and understand the types of decisions that they're making and then how they get reverberated back into the system. And I would like to say that I believe sound judgment can be measured. It can be measured. And if we look at both green, in this case I'm going to signify green as being agreeable. It's an agreeable situation. I deliver knowledge into a situation. Is that response that we get back, it's the same as what I expected, then that's green. But if it's red, I'm not saying red is bad. We mentioned that also today. Craig mentioned that. Like, red isn't necessarily bad. It's just different than what we expected. And that red can be something from, I expected this and I got something totally different. And there's usually two outcomes for that. Okay, one outcome is that from a person's perspective, from a consumer perspective, that maybe they just made the wrong decision. I remember when I came from General Motors and worked for Caterpillar, you know, I had a lot of this experience I brought to the table, but it wasn't Caterpillar's experience. It was something that I needed to adjust to and learn in the point of the applications that were being used, the processes that needed to be followed. So it wasn't necessarily aligned. And so this was an opportunity for me to learn and have that education, okay? Another one actually comes from knowledge change in itself. So sometimes we have somebody that has a lot of experience that you talk about, and they're putting that knowledge in, and maybe that knowledge, in a sense, that was different than what we expected, needs to change the knowledge in of itself. And so now we put that back in the system. We evaluate that within our COPs, within our knowledge communities, and then we put that back into the flow. And so you can see what the design intent was here, right? You can either go left or you can go right to cross the road, but that's not what people are doing. The behavior is that people are going straight across. You can tell by just the way that the grass is kind of like, you know, being worn out to the dirt there. Now, what's wrong here? Okay, is there anything wrong? Probably not. But there's this delta divide that you can see. What I want to say here, and what the key thing to get away from this is say that it's not bad whether it's green, it's not bad whether it's red. The difference between the two, did we know and did we expect that behavior or not? I think what we want to learn now for those people into the future, those future knowledge streams, those future knowledge practitioners and experts, we want to know that delta difference between the two, right? Those are the things we want to discover, and we want to discover them now, so that the next time we go through that we're putting that knowledge into the pack, not just the knowledge of how to make a sidewalk and go across the street, but the knowledge that says this is the difference that also you need to be considering. What are all those consideration factors that make good, sound judgment and good, sound decisions?
So what we want to do with orals is identify through AI learning opportunities, and we just showed you we can do it, right? Anytime something turns red and turns red at a rate that's higher than expected, we should start to identify those things through digital techniques, put them into a process for flow back, where they then become knowledge ready for flow up, then provision back into the process, and we collect the data again about delta, Tim's delta, and again, we can continually having this process. It can't work on a human-based process. It can, but you'd be spending way too much brain power and you can't afford it. But we can with computing power. But if you're not provisioning knowledge and detecting the delta, you can't. So this is why I think it's obvious that the assessment provisioning process is inevitable, because the organizations that are going to win are the ones that can learn continuously digitally, and you got to be able to do it.